50. So motion suggests itself. Patrick, weigh in on this as your number 48 track.
I think this song is one of those like perfect Pavement songs that only Pavement could pull off.
Hey, this is Westy from the rock and roll band Pavement, and you're listening to The Countdown.
Hey, it's JD here, back for another episode of our Top 50 Countdown for Seminole Indie Rock Band Pavement. Week over week, we're going to count down the 50 essential Pavement tracks that you selected with your very own top 20 ballads. I tabulated the results using complex algebra and an advanced abacus, and all that's left is for us to reveal this week's track. How will your favorite song fare in the rating? You'll need to tune in, or whatever the podcast equivalent of tuning in is, to find out. Subscribing, I suppose. This week, we're joined by Pavement superfan David from London, Ontario. So there's that. How are you doing, motherfucker?
I am well, and I thank you for including me in this experience to be on the podcast and discuss some Pavement.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. This is great. Just a bit of background. David and I met through the podcast, exchanged emails along the way, and then we actually got to go to the Massey Hall concert here in Toronto, and David ended up going backstage and saying hi to the gang. So there's that. How was that?
That was quite an experience, and it was very chill, which I guess surprised me a little bit until I realized that, you know, that they're people, and from my side, they're celebrities, but I mean, once you get to know them, they're people, so they're winding down after a show, and they had some family there, and they had some friends back there, and so you kind of just joined right into that experience with them, and you kind of seen the different conversations that were going on, and again, seeing them kind of coming in and out, as well as the friends and family, and that was quite nice. The members that I was able to engage with, I really appreciated. To some degree, all 5 of them I did engage with. I have to admit that when I saw Stephen Malcomus, I was a bit starstruck, so more than the other ones. And I was, so for him, I squeaked out a "Hey Steve" or something like that, and gave him like an air pump, and that was the extent of it. My longest conversation would have been with Steve West, and I appreciate the time he gave me there. I asked him a couple silly questions and about
what a gent, eh?
Oh, all of them are terrific, and that's the truth. I talked with Spiral briefly, and just kind of talked to him about his recent album, Metal Attack, and how much I enjoyed that. And I was one of the few fans that actually, yes, thank you. I was one of the few fans that ordered the hat, bought the hat, his baseball hat. So he got a kick out of that to meet one of the ones, maybe one of the only ones in Canada who bought it. And so that was neat. And then Mark Eyebold was hello. I told him I was a big fan, but didn't have the opportunity to get into any deeper than that. And then I saw Bob.
Tough to nail down.
Yeah, but I mean, he seemed like a genuinely really kind, personable person. So I fed off of that at the same time.
Yeah.
Bob gave me a hug, and that was probably the highlight of my evening. And because I had ordered some records from him through Broker's Tip Records, which is not around anymore, unfortunately. But
I know. What the hell, Bob? I guess it was a lot of work, probably for a little reward. Maybe. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But definitely a lot of work.
Great experience altogether, though. So getting backstage and meeting you there in person, too, was that
was really cool, right? That was a lot of fun. Yeah. I, of course, had a massive panic attack and couldn't go backstage, but that's life in Hollywood, right?
Yes. That's right, with celebrities, yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about your Pavement Origins story.
Sure.
That's the Toronto Massey Hall is the last time you saw them, I believe, right?
That's correct.
So when did you first experience them?
I first saw them in concert, for me, I guess, which is quite late in their band history, which would have been in June of '99, when I was 18. So, and this was in Detroit in their Terror Twilight tour. Probably the first time I would have had really the chance to experience them, even though the shows are kind of all ages. But when I was younger than that, I just was a little more mousy kind of thing. I would not have went out to big concerts. So that was my opportunity there. But when I first got into the band, would have been around 93, roughly. So let's say I'm 12 or 13. I was at my friend's house. He had an older brother who was into a lot of more indie bands, and different kind of music, a little bit more non-mainstream. And so he had that CD, Slanted Enchanted was the CD that he had on. And I remember at the time, we were playing cards or board game or something like that, and just hearing it and really acknowledging that it was really good, and noticing that it was something different than mainstream, similar to mainstream in some ways. If you take any of the big bands at that time, like Pearl Jam and Nirvana and that type of thing, it was similar enough, but it really did kind of stand out. At the same time, I don't think I was mature enough to really say I'm going to go home and kind of get into them on my own accord. I just wasn't there and had other things, and at that age type of thing, just didn't do it. Also, my exposure to music, access to music, was limited to radio, buying CDs or cassettes. CDs were expensive. So I think most of my CDs were purchased through like Columbia House. You'd get the 10 for $1.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And they stuck to mainly mainstream. So you're going to get Bush and you're going to get Soundgarden and like those types of bands on CDs. And I kind of ran through that gamut quite quickly. And then once the year was done, dropped them. But anyways, fast forward a little bit more after I did kind of mature a bit more with my music tastes and personally as well. And then I did buy Slanted Enchanted. Was probably my first one I purchased. And then I distinctly do remember, though, buying Wowie Zowie at HMV, I believe it was. Bring it home. I can still just remember the experience of listening to that for the first time. And again, hearing We Dance right out of the gate, I was set. And then Rattled by the Rush, I had heard already as kind of a silly reference, but I remember it being on Beavis and Butthead. And they kind of came down a bit on it, which I didn't appreciate at the time, because I really enjoyed the song.
Try harder.
Yeah. But they were like that, right? They had their own style of more kind of punk heavy and more kind of heavy, like Metallica kind of thing would be more their jam than something a little bit more deeper, more profound than Pavement. So anyways, it is what it is. But I do remember Wowie Zowie being that just really, really deep experience. It is my favorite album today. I think for a lot of people it is, but it's the one that just resonates with me the most. Again, my favorite song, Grounded, is on it. Second favorite song, probably being Trigger Cut off Slanted Enchanted. So, I mean,
what a great fucking song Trigger Cut is.
It is. And again, I think I came back to that one more recently when I was at home during COVID lockdown. I was able to work at home, fortunately, but with it being at home all the time, I needed to occupy myself. So discovering music and discovering new music was kind of the ways that I'd really spend my time, kind of pass a lot of my time. So Trigger Cut was the one that really kind of came back. I'm like, I kind of forgot how good that was. I know I'm jumping all over the map here a bit with my history, but if I go back a bit to early 90s...
there will be no quiz, I hope.
No, not for me. I do remember, so one of the things too is I was kind of growing up and I realized that this music truly was cool. And so I did not want to lean into it too much, because then it's going to look like I'm almost kind of using it as like a vehicle to make myself look cool type of thing. But I remember whenever I would have it on, if friends were over, it'd kind of be on in the background and just hear the comments of, oh, this is really good. What is the type of thing? And just trying to introduce them a little bit, expose them a little bit more to the band. And that was a fun experience too. I distinctly remember driving in my parents' 1988 Pontiac Grand Prix with a cassette player. And I had copied the CD to a cassette, and a friend being in the car and just going bananas over Slanted Enchanted. So I think I copied them a cassette as well, probably for their car, which was probably made in the 80s type of thing. And that's kind of, but it's just also appreciating the fact that how well their Pavement's music was speaking to a lot of friends at that time who would not have come across it, again, because heavy radio play, even from Detroit, because I grew up in Windsor, so I mean, we had a lot of Detroit radio. But you would not have had bands like that would never go on it. A college radio, yes, but none of the mainstream music stations that would have been those mainstream bands. Smashing Pumpkins and all that type of thing. Rage Against the Machine was quite big in Detroit for some reason. They got a lot of airplay. But other bands like this, not so much. But as I did mature, again, more into the late 90s, I left a lot of the mainstream music, put it off to the side. Not that I had anything against it, but I would spend my music interests more, again, always Pavement was there. But then I got into bands like Can, for example, Slint, Tortoise, Guided by Voices, more of that kind of indie sound. Again, with Tortoise and Slint, you had David Pajo's signature sound in there. So any of his bands...
I'm not familiar with either of those bands.
Oh, really?
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Slint.
They only had two albums, sorry. Their original bassist from the first album, Tweez, went on to form the band King Kong, also in '89. But then David Pajo went on to form... He released a lot of music under his other band name, stage name, Papa M, or Ariel M. Most of it is instrumental. Rarely would he put lyrics to it. Slint did have lyrics, but he was guitarist under that. But they had a very... there was a sound that just really resonated with me. So again, more of that type of music would have been heavy my style. Once we kind of broke through the 2000
That's
barrier.
really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool that you carved out like this, Pavement helped you carve out this niche, right? Mm-hmm. So you could echo chamber sort of, more music from that ilk. That's really cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. This is the experience here. But a lot of it does go back to them. And then to kind of find out in recent years that they were influenced by that band Can, who was a German experimentalist. Yeah. So that was kind of a neat experience for me too, just to say that I was into both of them simultaneously, as well as REM would have been my band of choice, let's say in the late 80s. And then to find out that they were also influenced by REM, I thought was a cool connection there too. So it's almost like their musical taste and my musical taste really kind of
intersect.
Yeah, which is it's a cool factor there. Bridge 2000s a bit. I remember after they broke up, getting Steve Malcomus's solo CD album, that first one, self-titled, that he had. That one lived in my car. Once I had a car with a CD player in it. That one, I would cycle out CDs, but that one would just live in there constantly. I don't think I ever took it out. Later on, I remember having a gap of time where, because there was no social media or nothing like that, you weren't constantly getting, dinged with updates. So a few years went by, and you have other, stuff going on in your life, and I realized that he might have released other albums, so I should check that out. So I got Face the Truth, and then the other one that came out, which I'm drawing a blank on right now. First one he released with he
Pig
did
Lip?
this. Yes, thank you. So I got those two and listened to them and enjoyed them. And then again, this is around 06, 07, just due to other kind of life things, just kind of got away from music a bit to some degree. It might be on the background, but it just kind of went away as one of my focuses until 2015, 2016. And then again into COVID when I was at home, I went back to say some of these old bands like the Beta Band, for example. I said, well, there was a lot of members there. It's one of the bands I like a lot. Let's see what some of those members are doing now. They must have had offshoot projects because they're musicians. They broke up in late 2000s. And so let's check that out. So I got into Steve Mason, and then I kind of went back into Malcomus's catalog and then realized that he had released all these albums between 07 to 2017, 18, 2020, or, leading up.
Oh, that's so great that you got to enjoy all that. You got to binge.
It was exactly. It was a fire hose of great music coming at me. So, and then getting into vinyl as well, kind of, because my parents were downsizing their house and they were going to be getting rid of their record player. So all I said was, don't throw it out. And when you're ready to kind of chuck it, I'll take it. And that day they just said, well, take it now because we don't listen to it anymore. So that helped me to get into vinyl as a hobby and then kind of re-experience music that way too, by having that different experience of listening to an entire album where you're not doing the skip thing that you might on CDs or streaming, where you're getting playlists on Spotify or whatever which I really enjoy, but you also miss out on that other full album experience.
Agreed. I was explaining this to my father-in-law just last night. It was interesting because he was like, he's like, it's so much more. It's so much more work, and I was like, well, it's, but you're holding this tangible thing in your hand and somebody made this thing. It's not this ethereal, sort of jetsam that's just floating in the air, it's really quite interesting to listen to music on vinyl, just experientially.
I agree.
Forget about the audio quality. What pavement do you have on vinyl? Do you have any?
I have Slanted Enchanted, I have Crooked Rain, I have Wowie Zowie, and I have Terror Twilight. I have not been able to locate Bright in the Corners. I'm not too crazy on my vinyl purchasing because they can be expensive. So whatever I come across that's reasonably priced, I buy. I don't go crazy with certain key pressings or rare releases or anything like that.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I got Did you get the Terror Twilight box?
I don't. I ordered the digital version of that through Bandcamp, but the vinyl is just the as of the would have been released of the day kind of a thing. The
Right,
Nigel Godrich,
gotcha.
not the Nigel Godrich, the Spiral Stairs sequence, I guess, version.
Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah.
Well, cool. What do you say we get to our song of the week?
I'm in.
Let's do it. Let's take a brief pause and we'll come right back with song number 47.
Awesome.
Hey, this is Bob Nastanovich from Pavement. Thanks for listening. And now on with a countdown.
47.
On an icy island north, in the woods beside the church, we can bury creels and lockets filled with dirt. And when the April thaw brings us out again, we can bless the arrows, and the sun won't stall, and the land will never fall. On virgin fields we'll skate, snap-eyed children will create. Let the Arctic wind breeze spin our windmills round into the threshing slow. You can't thresh the snow when the snow is sending. There's no divine growth. You can't see the blankets go. Everything I did was right. Everything I said was wrong. Now we're waiting for the night to bring the dawn into the only room where the fire's warm, where we keep our vices warm, and it's all that's left. All that's left is vices torn.
Okay, that was Greenlander. And that, of course, comes from the Watery Domestic Sessions that included Sumi Jack and So Stark, You're a Skyscraper. Is there a fucking bad song that they recorded for Watery? Like really, there's not, right? It's all so great. This song, number 47, is the 7th track on the second disc of Lux and Redux, the boxed set of Slanted and Enchanted. And I was just made aware that it first appeared, though, in the 90s on a compilation called Volume 4. And the song that we are, of course, talking about, if you haven't put it together yet, number 47, is Greenlander. David from London, Ontario. What do you think of Greenlander?
I really like this song. This is one that I only came across, again, not to keep repeating myself, but over the kind of COVID lockdown days, where with my extra time, I was going through some of the more back catalog, some of the extra kind of bonus songs that were not included on the albums when they first got released. And as well through listening to your podcast and the Pavement Conundrum podcast. They also helped to introduce me to some other songs that I was kind of not aware of, as well as getting the Westing compilation album as well. But yeah, this song I enjoy a lot. And one thing that hit me as well on this one is it has that kind of little more slow, reflective kind of pace to it, vibe to it. It's not a heavy
Really
rock
chill,
song.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not a jam song. It's not a rock song. It's just that vibe again, like that more slower kind of reflective vibe. Which I do enjoy. And as I was doing a little bit of research for this, I kind of realized that, so this is not going to be original what I'm going to say whatsoever, but it easily could have went onto the Watery Domestic EP. This is not me saying this, maybe it could have been added on. It would have fit. If they wanted to add on, a couple more tracks on there, it would have fit, in my opinion. And others, again, I'm kind of stealing this from the Conundrum folks and probably from yourself as well as some other online kind of feeds there. But one thing I did, as I was doing a little more research, I realized that each one of their albums has a similar song like this on there. And from my interpretation, if you start with Slanted and Enchanted, the song Here has kind of a similar vibe. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes things down a little bit of a notch. It's not In a Mouth of Desert. It's not Conduit for Sale. It's that deeper, slower, reflective song, and it kind of brings things down, and then you can step it up again. So I appreciate that style of song on an album. But similarly, I mean, if I kind of walk through their catalog again, you could also say the similar one would be Stop Breathing on Crooked Rain, Crooked Rain. Maybe Motion Suggests on Wowie Zowie. Maybe even Transport is Arranged on Bright in the Corners. Possibly You Are the Light on Terror Twilight. Maybe more of a stretch on that one, but it could very well be. It's definitely steps things down a bit, slows things down a bit. Even in Malcomus' solo career, I'm not going to go through all of it, but I mean, a self-titled, you could say Church on White could be similar. You could say Loud Cloud Crowd on Face the Truth. I'm not going to go through all the rest of them, but I mean, either his style or their style, but
save it for the bonus feed.
But I appreciate that them doing that and Malcomus doing that again to kind of, if you slow things down again, it's good because you don't want every single track to be kind of really loud and really out there, and just to kind of relax for a bit. And then when you're making playlists too, or whether you're doing it, Spotify's doing it, but these will then kind of fit into a different genre, a different style than what some of the other songs are gonna be. So playlists aside, and even just the album straight through aside, just to kind of slow things down for a bit and then pick them up again, just to let yourself kind of breathe a bit, relax a bit, and then kind of step up again. But that's really what I take from this song. That's where I'm coming from with this.
Yeah, I can't help but think the song benefits from having Gary in it. I love Steve West as a human being and as a drummer. I think Westy certainly can drum. But there's something about Gary. And when I listen to this song, it's his interesting style. It's busier than it needs to be, but with the sparse arrangement of the song, I definitely think that his drumming and the little fills fill the space of the song and make it more interesting as a whole. That's, sort of my take on the Gary factor. And really there's just, sort of guitar and the drums and a bass string on another guitar, it sounds like. I think it's interesting there's no chorus. There's sort of just a musical lift at the end of every verse that sort of represents a chorus, for lack of a better term. And I also think that in a really rare to SM kind of vibe, the song has a title that relates to the lyrics. Like, it seems like it is about a Greenlander, somebody from the land of ice and snow in Greenland. What's your take?
I would agree wholeheartedly with that. And looking at a bit of the interpretations online, there's a couple of people that kind of jumped a little bit from here to there, talking about possible ancient rituals that it could be reflecting in. But I think more sensible minds might have just kind of chimed in to say that it really does seem to be about lovers in Greenland. There are lyrics here that kind of reflect that may be, in fact, what they are talking about. Well, kind of taking away from the fact, I mean, they are talking about kind of a love for one another, and even with this, the lyric kind of saying that on virgin fields we'll skate, stand by children we'll create. Could that be talking about an individual couple? Possibly. It could be more broader in terms of the whole population or community, possibly. But it does seem to kind of be talking about their kind of experience within that land. And then towards the end, it might be talking about kind of with vice is warm, it's all that's left. All that's left is vice is torn. Could be about relationships unraveling or just reaching their conclusion type of thing. That I'm a little uncertain about, but that's what I take from that.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel as well. I definitely think there's like romance is afoot. It seems, in as unromantic a way as you can sort of draw up, but it does it works. It really works. And I like this song, and I wish that Watery was a 10-inch, and it contains So Stark and Sumi Jack as well. Like, that's my wish. I don't know what we're going to see when this 7-inch box set comes out that Spiral was talking about. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm excited. I'm real excited about what the possibilities could be for that.
Only time will tell, right? But they haven't
Only
disappointed
time will
so
tell.
far with these extra
No.
releases.
That's true.
Like,
That's really true.
All of them, right?
So where do you think that this song rates as far as where it landed on the countdown? It's number 47 on the countdown. Is it ranked just right? Is it ranked too low? Is it ranked too high? What do you think, David, from London, Ontario?
I would say just right. It's definitely a top 50 song, in my opinion. I think it holds that position quite well. Due to the fact that it is like that, again, that slower pace. It's not quite a here from Slanted, so I have to kind of bring it down a little bit there. But again, you do have Gary's drumming, like you said, so you got that mix in there as well, which takes up a notch, of course. But yeah, I agree. I mean, there's because Pavement, as the way their band is, which is kind of that alt rock band. There's other songs that I think are going to define them better, which should be ahead of this song. And so I think this one fits quite well. It could be a bit higher for sure. Like if it was even 35 to 47, I think that would fit just fine. But not a top 10.
Right.
Possibly not a top 20, but definitely within a top 50. And I fully agree. Again, 47, sure. There's no offense to the song if it could be offended, kind of thing.
It's not a B-side even. It's like it's like a track that didn't make anything. Like it was on a compilation disc, for heaven's sake.
Yes. Rediscovered in time now, but yeah, kind of lost it at the time.
Yeah. Chris from episode 50, track number 50, he had the actual CD, so that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
stuff. David, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today about Pavement and track number 47, Greenlander. Is there any pluggery that you need to do, or is there any place that people can find you online that you want them to find you online?
I am on Twitter at just DDR and then my last name TESSIER. I kind of repost some musical threads. Otherwise, I don't do much independently because I don't create music independently. I just consume it and try and pass around any good new bands or tracks or songs that I come across. That's the only way I can contribute that way. I do love kind of discovering kind of new bands from any decade that really speaks to me. And if I enjoy it, then I will share it. I've created my own 4 different 50-track Spotify playlists of a bit of kind of random music that I've gotten from, again, many different locations. The majority of which is probably Bob's podcast, the 3-song pod.
Yeah,
podcast.
I missed that.
Yeah, so do I. But I mean, they did 178 maybe around there. So I've gone backwards and rediscovering them. I'm back to about episode 100 now. So I've not heard the first 100, but I've heard the last 78. And from there, if you do kind of listen to some on Spotify, you'll get recommendations for other ones, similar ones. And so I'll listen to them. If I really like them, I'll add them to my own playlist, or some of these, like I said, these 4 playlists I put together of just songs that I can then share. Because as I talk to about music with other people, friends from work or family, cousins, whatever, they'll say, "What kind of stuff do you listen to?" And I can just say, "Well, here, I'll DM you one of my playlists I put together, and this is what I like." If you don't like any of it, no offense taken, because I fully of the mind that music is very personable. It's very subjective, and I would never take offense to any music that someone else does not like, or that they really do like. If they like music, I appreciate that. If they don't, I can understand that too. But that's kind of what I do. So on Twitter, if you do want to look me up, I think I have put those playlists on there, accessible, fully public on Spotify.
Cool. Well, thank you again so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again. And keep up the good work.
Same with me. Loved it. Great time.
Awesome. Wash your goddamn hands. Thanks for listening to Meeting Malcomus, a Pavement podcast, where we count down the top 50 Pavement tracks, as selected by you. If you've got questions or concerns, please shoot me an email, jd@meetingmalcomus.com. To podcasts and such.